Bratislava is not the most popular destination for tourists, but nevertheless it is a gorgeous European capital. This city is located on the banks of the Danube and it saw a wide variety of rulers. At the same time, Bratislava constantly continues to develop in our times.
Imagining the keys inside her mind. Does she notice the things I notice?
Hello everyone from Bratislava. It is a capital of Slovakia and it's a really nice place to visit, to stay. By the way, it's the only capital which has borders with two different countries. It is with Austria and it is also with Hungary. A city with an interesting story, but also with great sites, with great places. Not so famous right now, but I think that it's one of the hidden gems of Europe. And now I am sitting on the main square of Bratislava. Here you can find a lot of really nice buildings. It's a ratusz, there are also different embassies. For example, this French embassy, near it we can find a monument of French soldier. Really nice looking, and a lot of tourists usually make photos near this French soldier. At first glance, it also seemed to me as a Napoleon monument, but a very strange pose for Napoleon. And yes, it's not Napoleon, but Napoleon's soldier. Made really good and nice attraction of this city center too. And I think that this square is the main place for tourists, where almost all excursions also go into. It's not the most interesting side of Bratislava, but you should definitely visit it too, because it's quite nice. And at this period, exactly now, it looks nice because of these buildings. They are in really good condition, because a lot of them were renovated a couple of years ago, and all is looking very cinematic right now.
Everywhere I'm over here, she's 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 everywhere.
Bratislava isn't a very touristic city. Each year before COVID, in pre-COVID period, here was nearly 1 million tourists, and it's not a high number. For example, even in Częstochowa city in Poland, it is 4.5 million tourists per year, mostly pilgrims, but anyway, Bratislava, capital of a European country with a huge history, hasn't a lot of tourists right now. You can also watch a video from Częstochowa, not very known but interesting city in Poland. But talking about Bratislava, I think that this city should have more tourists for sure. And I really like the fact that, as for me, as in my feelings now, in Bratislava there are more tourists than it was earlier, because now we can find a lot of river cruises and a lot of touristic groups too. I think that this city should have a big touristic future, because a lot of interesting attractions can be found right here.
Things are well. What facts belong, it's hard to say. Your pattern is so hard to tell. But we're together, that's our game. Round and round and round we go. The dance ain't over, I'm sure we're still the same. Love the ways you make us whole. Would you say if things ain't right? Look away, look away. What's really going on? What's really going on? Would you tell me, can't you say what's really going on?
One of really popular attractions in Bratislava is this Jumil. Jumil, it's in Slovakian, it's a man on work. It appeared in Bratislava not a lot of years ago. It's one of new monuments. Nobody knows the full sense of this monument, but I want to say that here in Bratislava you can find a lot of really interesting new monuments of the city, because they have a very good emotional impact to the tourist, and a lot of new monuments they became really great sites where almost any tourist want to have a photo or just to see it.
Can't you say what's really going on? What's really going on? Look away, look away. What's really going on? What's really going on? Would you tell me? Can't you say what's really going on? What's really going on? Look away and just look away. What would you say if things ain't right? Would you tell me, can't you say? Please just talk to me if things ain't fine. Look away, you just look away. What would you say if things ain't right?
One of really interesting sites in Bratislava is Michalskie Vorota, or St. Michael's Gate, and they are located close to the Market Square. Unfortunately, there is a renovation right now, so you can't see a lot here, but when it will be completed, and if you will be in Bratislava at this time, you should definitely come here, because it's a beautiful, really nice building from the 14th century. It's one of 4 old gates, the only one which is available right now. All others were destroyed. And here you can find good views. And also near these gates there are a really interesting building, because it's the narrowest building in the whole Europe. It has only 1 meter and 30 centimeters, and it appeared when they remade this fortifications, and here was a hole, so they decided that it can be a place for a new building, which is really the smallest one from any building that I ever seen. Now in this building the kebab is located, and it looks really nice and uncommon, because this building is really so small. And I also remember my first trip to Bratislava. It was a small, I think, 5-day trip in Central Europe. I came to Wrocław, to Prague, and my last stop was in Bratislava. I chose Bratislava more because of good tickets on the plane from Bratislava. It was very affordable. And I thought that, okay, let it be a new country that I will visit, and I didn't expect a lot from Bratislava. I thought that nothing really special will be in this city. But I was very impressed from Bratislava. It was one of the best places that I opened to myself at that year, and I really liked it. And already I came to Bratislava for 6th or 7th time right now, and I also visited some other cities in Bratislava, and I will love to came here a lot of times in the future too. Here in Bratislava you can also walk near the Danube River, and it's really a nice and lovely place of this city. I really like Danube. I remember the first time when I saw it, I was really impressed because it has a really fast flow, and it is also quite wide. So when you are looking on this river, it is a really uncommon skyline, and I like to come to Danube River and to walk near it. Nice views, nice nature of this river, and the history of this river too, because on this river located 4 different capitals. It's Bratislava, of course, Vienna, also Budapest and Bucharest, and it was a river of Austro-Hungarian Empire. For a long time it was very important for trades, and even now we can find a lot of touristic cruises here. I think a lot of people even don't stay in Bratislava, but at the beginning of the day you can find a lot of touristic groups right here who are going to the Bratislava city center and walking sometimes in this city. Anyway, I really like Danube, and it is one of great parts of visiting Bratislava for me. And I also want to mention one thing that I really like in Bratislava. It's about the city. It's in many things it's made for locals, for citizens of Bratislava. Yes, it's not about some difficulties for tourists. This city is great for tourists too. You have a lot of attractions, a lot of touristic places, some restaurants and other for tourists. But when you walking in Bratislava, and when you watch all what is going in the city, you can find a lot of things that are made really for local citizens, and it's great because any city, even the most touristic ones, any cities should have a lot of features for locals. And Bratislava is a great example of this, because a lot of small things, not even something that I should mention here, a lot of things made for locals, and it's really great because you can also see a lot of citizens of Bratislava that are really happy, and they like the city, and it's making Bratislava better even for tourists too. Saint Elizabeth Church, one of the most charming places in Bratislava, one of the most beautiful buildings. It was constructed at the beginning of 20th century in modernism style, and it looks really very uncommon. It looks nice and very bright. This beautiful blue colors in contrast with green trees near this church, and also the interior of this church is great too. This church never had some big religious meanings. It was built like a mausoleum of a daughter of Hungarian king, but now it is not a religious, so big religious place, but a very touristic place. A lot of tourists came here to take a photo of this church, and to be honest, it looks really nice. And of course, after a day in Bratislava, it is time to try some traditional Slovak food. And I came to a very interesting place. It is first Slovak pub. It is located on Obchodna Street, almost in the center of Bratislava. And here you can find also an interesting design, traditional design, and a lot of different traditional dishes, Slovak dishes. They also have their own homemade beer, and as I understood, they also have their farm, so they use only their meat in their dishes. And to be honest, I am here not for the first time. I already was here previously when I visited Bratislava last years, and here always were very nice dishes, very tasty and delicious. And today I took for myself two dishes. First, it is a cabbage soup with sausages and with cream cheese, sour cream cheese, and also a goulash, a beef goulash with homemade dumplings. It's look like traditional Slavic cuisine, but with some differences from Slovakia, with some interesting, unique flavors in these dishes, in these tastes. So I tried these dishes, and this one, this kapusniak or cabbage soup, it is quite sour, and it is not common. It has not common taste. I think it will be a great dish if you want to try something really Slavic, really Slovakian food. It's made really nice with a great sausage, really tasty, delicious one, and it's really interesting experience because it is a local and unique cuisine. The second dish is really tasty too, because this beef is very, very tender, and when you take a part of this homemade bread with this sauce. It tastes fantastic. Absolutely great food. And if you be in Slovakia, in Bratislava, and you want to try some national dishes, I can highly recommend this place.